The Jedi Temple was colder than usual. Anakin Skywalker stood in the council chamber, his gaze fixed on the distant Coruscant skyline. The sun was setting, painting the city in hues of red and gold, and yet his thoughts were elsewhere. On the Jedi, on Padme, and more urgently, on Palpatine. He had just learned from Master Windu that the Chancellor was under arrest for being a Sith Lord, and now the Jedi Council was preparing to confront him. Anakin had left the council chamber moments ago, heart pounding, mind racing. He knew what he was supposed to do. He knew the Jedi teachings. He knew his duty. But he also knew the Chancellor. Palpatine had been like a second father to him, someone who believed in him when others doubted, who whispered promises of strength and power. And more importantly, survival. Survival for Padme. The nightmares of her dying in childbirth were growing stronger each night, and the fear clawed at his soul. He reached the temple's steps and stopped. His speeder was waiting. If he left now, he could make it to Palpatine's office before Windu and the others arrived. He could stop this, maybe even talk Mace down. He could protect the Chancellor, protect his future. And yet, something in him froze. A voice. Not Yoda's, not Obi-Wan's, his own. What if this isn't the way? What if saving him makes it all worse? He stared at the horizon, breathing hard. "I can't," he muttered. "Not this time." And with that, he turned away from the speeder and walked back into the temple. Across the city, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Aegon Kolar, and Saesee Tiin approached the Senate building, determined and silent. Inside, Chancellor Palpatine waited, not with fear, but with purpose. His plan was in motion. Anakin would come. He had to come. Palpatine had seen it in his mind. Anakin bursting in at the last second, lightsaber drawn, betraying the Jedi, choosing him, choosing the Sith. But time ticked by, and the doors remained shut. Palpatine raised an eyebrow. His calm began to flicker. Still, he waited. When the Jedi entered his office, cloaks billowing and sabers igniting, he stood up slowly, the Sith mask slipping into place. "So, it has come to this." "You're under arrest, Chancellor," Mace said, voice like stone. "You are no longer in control of the Senate." Palpatine didn't answer. He unleashed his saber. The office erupted into chaos. Anakin felt it when it happened. A ripple in the force, screams, pain, fear. His breath caught in his chest. He closed his eyes and saw brief flashes, red, purple, fire. He bolted out of the meditation room and ran down the corridor. But he wasn't heading to the Senate now. He was heading to the communications tower. "R2, patch me through to Master Kenobi," he said, breathless. R2 chirped and the hologram buzzed to life. Obi-Wan appeared, weary and battle-worn, on Utapau. "Anakin, what is it?" "It's Palpatine. He's the Sith Lord. Windu's confronting him now." I didn't go." Obi-Wan's face changed. "You did the right thing. Where are you now?" "Still at the temple. I'm coming back as soon as I can." Anakin nodded, but deep inside, the knot in his gut only tightened. Because as the hours passed, news trickled in. 3 Jedi Masters were dead. Windu was grievously wounded but alive, and Palpatine, Darth Sidious, was gone. Not captured, not killed, gone. Disappeared into the city's underworld. And with him, the future began to shift. The Jedi Temple was quiet, but not peaceful. Jedi Masters walked briskly through the halls, whispers spreading like wildfire. Younglings watched with wide eyes as knights muttered behind closed doors. Something had changed. Something big. The death of 3 Masters wasn't just a loss, it was a warning. The Sith were real. They were here. Anakin sat alone in the archives, his hands clasped tightly in front of him, knuckles white. He hadn't moved for hours. Holonews reports were spinning out of control. The Chancellor had been accused of treason. The Jedi were being called power-hungry rebels. Conspiracy theorists were flooding the airwaves. And the worst part, Padme hadn't answered a single message. He stared down at his comlink. He had tried to reach her the moment the fight ended. She always answered him, always. But now, silence. It was deafening. Finally, the door opened. Obi-Wan stepped in, his cloak dusty, his face drawn from days of fighting. Anakin stood up fast. "Did you see the news? They're calling us traitors." "I know," Obi-Wan said, voice low. "I've spoken with Master Yoda. We've confirmed it. Sidious escaped. He vanished before they could capture him." "So that's it," Anakin snapped. "3 Jedi are dead, Windu's barely breathing, and the Sith Lord just slips away? We're searching for him. Every unit is on alert." Anakin shook his head. "We should have killed him when we had the chance. We don't execute prisoners." "He wasn't a prisoner, he was a threat. You think he won't strike again?" Obi-Wan didn't answer. The silence said enough. "What about Padme?" Anakin asked, his voice suddenly cracking. Obi-Wan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Why are you asking me that? She won't answer me. Something's wrong. You've been close with her, haven't you?" Anakin looked away. "I've known her since I was 9. "That's not what I meant." Anakin's mouth opened, then shut again. There was no point lying to Obi-Wan. He always knew. "She's pregnant," Anakin finally admitted. "She's carrying my child." Obi-Wan's face changed. Shock, disappointment, a flicker of sadness. But then something else passed over him. Something more grounded. "We'll protect her," Obi-Wan said quietly. "I promise." Anakin finally sat down again, breathing hard, but the galaxy wasn't pausing for them to catch their breath. That night, the Republic Senate held an emergency session. With Palpatine missing, a temporary chancellor was needed. Mas Amedda stepped forward as acting head, but fear had already begun seeding the chamber. Rumors of Jedi betrayal were spreading faster than the truth. Some senators began pushing for Jedi registration, accountability, surveillance. Padme didn't show up to the session. Anakin watched from the temple, his fists clenched, and then came the message. A simple, secure signal, encrypted, only for him. An address, no words. He grabbed his cloak and left without telling anyone. The lower levels of Coruscant were darker than he remembered. He moved fast through the alleys, always checking behind him, the hum of his saber close to his fingertips. The address led to a small docking bay, hidden, silent. Padme was there. She looked pale, worn down. Her hand instinctively covered her stomach when she saw him. "Anakin!" He rushed to her. "Are you all right? Why haven't you answered?" "I've been watched," she whispered. "People have been following me. I couldn't risk it." He looked around, his eyes burning. "Who? Who's watching you?" "Anakin." "He came to me." He stopped breathing. "Palpatine?" She nodded slowly. "What did he say?" "He told me you were in danger, that the Jedi would betray you, that if I didn't leave the city, they'd use me against you. He's lying. I know he is, but he seemed desperate, like something went wrong. It did go wrong. He thought I'd save him. He thought I'd fall. He was wrong." Padme took his hands. "Then we have to run, before he comes for us." Anakin looked at her, the woman he loved, the child she carried, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure what the right move was. Stay and fight for the Jedi, or run and protect his family. But even as he hesitated, far above in the night sky, a strange ship entered orbit. No Republic markings, no Jedi escort. Something was coming, and this time it wouldn't be subtle. The Jedi Council reconvened before dawn. The air was thick with tension. Mace Windu, barely able to stand, sat in a hoverchair, one arm in a support brace. His face was drawn, not just from pain, but from frustration. Failure hung over them like a shadow. "The Sith Lord has escaped, and the Senate is turning on us," he said, voice hoarse. "We're running out of time." "Then we strike first," Ki Adimundi said, his brow furrowed. "We track him. We end this." "And what if that's what he wants?" Yoda asked quietly. "Fear leads the hunt. Dark side follows close." Obi-Wan stood near the center. "We need to know what Sidious is planning. Disappearing like this, it's not weakness, it's control. He's waiting for the perfect moment." Yoda turned toward Anakin, who stood silent at the back of the chamber. "Holding something back you are. Fear, I sense. Pain." Anakin looked up. He approached Padme. Gasps echoed through the room. "What did he say?" Windu demanded. Anakin stepped forward. "He warned her. Said the Jedi would betray me. Said I needed to run. He's trying to twist her, use her." "And you?" Obi-Wan asked carefully. "I told her I wasn't leaving, but she's scared, and so am I." Yoda's ears lowered. "A choice you made. Difficult, costly, but right." "And now the consequences begin," Windu added bitterly. Meanwhile, in the lower reaches of Coruscant, a meeting was unfolding in a hidden chamber. Count Dooku knelt before a hologram of Darth Sidious. "You failed to secure the boy," Sidious said, his voice like ash. "He is more unstable than we thought. The Jedi still have their claws in him. No, he has doubts, but they can be broken. He fears for the girl, for the child. We use that. We show him the truth." Dooku nodded. "And if he resists, then we destroy everything he loves." Sidious ended the transmission. Dooku rose, smiling faintly. A trap was already being set. Back in the temple, Obi-Wan found Anakin in the training hall, practicing in a blur of speed and fury. His saber moved like a storm, aggressive, raw. "You're fighting like a Sith," Obi-Wan said quietly. Anakin stopped, chest heaving. "Maybe that's what it takes now." "No, that's what he wants you to think." Anakin deactivated his blade. "Why didn't we kill him when we had the chance?" "Because we're not them." Anakin looked away. "He's going to take everything. Padme, the child. He knows where we are now." Obi-Wan stepped closer. "Then we protect them, together." Later that night, Anakin returned to Padme's safe house. She sat at the small table, a cup of untouched tea before her. "I can't stay here, Annie," she whispered. "If he knows where I am, I'm not safe, and neither is the baby. I'll take you somewhere. Somewhere the Jedi won't ask questions. Somewhere he can't find us." She looked at him. "Are you sure they'll let you go?" He paused. "No, but I'll make them understand." Before he could say more, his comlink buzzed. "Skywalker," came Master Windu's voice. "You're needed now." "What's wrong?" "There's been a bombing at the Senate building. Mas Amedda is dead. Half the delegation is missing." Anakin froze. "He's making his move," Windu said. Grimly, as Anakin stared at Padme, he realized something chilling. This wasn't just about Sith versus Jedi anymore. This was the beginning of a civil war, and he was standing in the middle of it. The Senate was in flames. Smoke curled through the air like dying breath, mixing with the wails of emergency sirens. Bodies were being pulled from rubble, security droids scouring every corridor for survivors. What had once been the proud heart of the Republic was now a scorched monument to chaos. Anakin stood beside Obi-Wan, the red glow of fire reflecting. In both their eyes, the stench of burning durasteel and blood filled the air. "Mas Amedda is dead," Obi-Wan said grimly. "So are 12 senators. Others are missing. Bail Organa was among the last seen entering before the blast." "Do we know who did this?" Anakin asked, his voice hollow. "Not yet, but Palpatine left a message." He handed Anakin a datapad. A hollow of Sidious flickered to life. Calm, cold. "The Jedi have seized control. They have turned the Republic against itself. I warned you. They denied me my life. and now they will pay the price for their betrayal. To those who seek truth, I offer sanctuary. To those who remain loyal to the Jedi, prepare for war." The message ended. Anakin stared at the pad for a long time. "He's shifting the narrative," Obi-Wan said, "making us look like the aggressors. He doesn't have to shift it much," Anakin murmured. "The Senate already distrusted us. This just seals it." Obi-Wan nodded. "The people will believe what they're afraid to question." Back at the Jedi Temple, panic was beginning to spread. Reports came flooding in from all across the galaxy. Jedi outposts being attacked, clone commanders defecting, planetary leaders refusing Jedi aid. The Order was being cornered, slowly, strategically. "Execute Order 88. That was the phrase the clones began using. It wasn't the infamous Order 66. Not yet. Order 88 was more subtle. Monitor Jedi activity, limit their access, detain if necessary. They were being wrapped in chains under the illusion of peace. And it was working. Meanwhile, Padme was moved again, this time to an abandoned diplomatic station on Coruscant. Upper Ring. Anakin insisted on handling it personally. He trusted no one else. She paced the cold, narrow room while he checked the perimeter. "They won't stop, will they?" she asked. "No. Then what are we doing, Anakin? Just running?" "I'm buying time," he said. "For us. For the baby." "But at what cost?" He didn't answer, because deep down he was starting to wonder the same. That night he stood alone on the balcony, staring down at the city, the glow of fires in the distance, the low hum of starships fleeing Coruscant. He felt it again, that gnawing, sharp whisper in his chest. You were supposed to fix this. You were supposed to be strong enough. And then he felt him, Sidious. The presence in the Force was undeniable, cold, ancient, close. Anakin reached for his saber, still clinging to the illusion of choice. Sidious's voice echoed in his mind, still thinking love can save you. Anakin looked around, heart pounding, but there was no one. Just shadows. She will die, Anakin. You know this, and when she does, you'll see what the Jedi truly took from you. Get out of my head, he growled, but the voice didn't leave. Sidious was no longer just hunting the Jedi. He was hunting Anakin's soul, and the cracks were beginning to show. The next morning, Obi-Wan entered the temple in a rush. They've captured Dooku, he said. Anakin spun toward him. Where? Kashyyyk. The Wookiees intercepted his ship. He's alive. They're bringing him here. Master Yoda's overseeing it. Anakin's eyes narrowed. No. It's a trap. What? He wants to be caught. You really think Dooku would fall into the hands of a Republic patrol that easy? Obi-Wan paused. You think Sidious planned it? I know he did, but it was too late. The ship carrying Dooku had already landed, and in the shadows of the temple, something darker was crawling in. Because Dooku hadn't come to surrender. He'd come to deliver one final message, and someone wasn't making it out alive. The hangar was silent when Count Dooku stepped off the shuttle. Flanked by 2 Republic guards and a pair of Wookiee warriors, he looked calm, regal even, like a man stepping into his own funeral willingly. Jedi masters lined the platform, sabers at the ready, eyes narrowed. Yoda stood at the front, cane, firm against the durasteel floor, his gaze fixed on his old apprentice. Difficult to catch you were, Yoda said quietly. I wasn't hiding, Dooku replied. I was waiting. Anakin arrived just as they began leading Dooku into the temple. He stared at him, this Sith, this traitor who started it all, who helped Sidious plunge the galaxy into hell. You should have died on Geonosis, Anakin said. Perhaps, Dooku answered, eyes cold, but you should have listened to your instincts a long time ago. They locked Dooku in a high-security chamber beneath the temple. Obi-Wan, Windu, and Yoda met in the interrogation chamber shortly after. Anakin wasn't invited, but that didn't stop him from listening. From the shadows above, he watched as Dooku sat chained to the interrogation table, the faint hum of suppression cuffs around his wrists. He wasn't afraid. If anything, he looked amused. "You've lost the war, Dooku," Windu said. "Sidious abandoned you." "That's what you think," Dooku replied. "Why come here?" "Obi-Wan," asked Dooku's eyes turned toward him. "To tell you the truth, because even now you fools still think you're in control." Yoda stepped forward. "Truth or another lie?" "Do you think this is about the Jedi anymore?" Dooku asked. "Do you even understand what's coming?" An eerie silence filled the room. "Sidious has created something," Dooku said. "Slowly. A weapon, not a clone army, not a droid fleet. Something else, something old." Yoda's ears perked. "What do you mean, old?" "It's buried deep in the unknown regions. He found it long ago, before Naboo, before I even knew who he truly was. He's been feeding it, planning. He doesn't want to rule the galaxy." He leaned forward, eyes dark. "He wants to burn it." Suddenly the lights in the chamber flickered. Yoda raised his head. "Felt that, did you?" Obi-Wan looked at the door. "Something's wrong." Then the power cut. An explosion rocked the chamber. Alarms screamed through the temple. Anakin leapt from his perch, sprinting through the halls. Above the interrogation level, fire tore through the walls. Troopers panicked. Jedi shouted orders, but the chaos was spreading fast. "Containment breach! Sector C!" someone yelled. Anakin reached the cell, only to find it empty. Dooku was gone, and in his place, carved into the durasteel wall in scorch marks, was a symbol, not of the Sith, older, cruder, something darker. He turned, fury boiling in his chest. How did he get out? Windu arrived behind him, coughing from smoke. We lost him. He planted something before we landed, a bomb, force-triggered. Anakin's eyes blazed. "He came here to distract us, while Sidious moves." "But to where?" Obi-Wan asked. That night, as the Jedi fought to recover from the damage, Anakin returned to Padme's location, only to find the station empty. No guards, no sign of struggle, just her necklace lying on the ground. Anakin stood frozen, the blood draining from his face, and then the transmission came, flickering hologram, Sidious, his face half-shadowed. "Lose everything, Anakin. That is the only path to power. You were warned. You hesitated. And now, the child will die." The image faded. Anakin dropped to his knees. This was no longer a war. It was personal, and next time he wasn't playing by Jedi rules. The storm that night over Coruscant wasn't natural. Lightning cracked across the sky in unnatural rhythms, the clouds pulsing as if alive. The Force itself trembled. Inside the temple, Yoda sat deep in meditation, sweat lining his forehead. The future had never felt so clouded. Every thread he pulled led to ruin, fire, screams, betrayal, and through it all, Anakin. Not as a Jedi, not even as a Sith, but something in between, something worse. Anakin didn't return to the temple after Padme was taken. He disappeared into the city's underworld, chasing signals, shaking down informants, doing whatever it took to find her. When one bounty hunter refused to talk, Anakin shattered his arm with the Force. When another gave him a false lead, he didn't walk away. He made him scream, and all the while, something kept whispering to him. They let her be taken. They protected Dooku, but not her. The Jedi made you weak. He found a trace eventually, a surveillance cam in level 1313. Padme was unconscious, being carried onto a transport by figures cloaked in red. Not clone troopers, not droids, something older. He'd seen that red before. He knew who they served. He ignited his saber and walked away from the screen, not even blinking. When he finally returned to the Jedi Temple, he was covered in soot and blood, not his own. He stormed into the council chamber, where Windu, Obi-Wan, and Yoda were deep in discussion. "Where were your guards?" he snapped. "Why was there no Jedi watching her? Anakin, she's pregnant." His voice thundered. "With my child." Silence. Obi-Wan looked at him, eyes filled with something halfway between concern and fear. "We didn't know the attack was coming. We thought she was safe." "Safe?" Anakin laughed bitterly. "No one's safe. Not while you sit in here talking while he tears the galaxy apart." "Sidious wants you to lose control," Windu said. "You're playing into his hands." Anakin stepped forward, shaking. "Maybe that's what it takes to stop him." Yoda's voice was low and heavy. "Darkness, I feel in you. Close it is." Anakin looked at them all. These masters who had once doubted him, restrained him, ignored his warnings. "You need me now," he said, "but you still don't trust me." "We do trust you," Obi-Wan said softly, "but not if you walk this path alone." Anakin turned away. "I'm not asking for permission. I'm going to get her back, with or without your help." Before they could speak again, he was gone. He returned to the safe house once more, this time not to mourn, but to prepare. He opened a hidden compartment in the floor. Inside lay a holocron he had taken long ago from the temple vaults, one he was never supposed to touch. Sith knowledge. He stared at it for a long time. Then he opened it. Images and whispers poured from it like venom, rituals, forbidden power, secrets carved in blood. He absorbed them all, because if Sidious wanted to see what Anakin Skywalker looked like in the dark, he was going to find out. Days later, on a deserted moon in the Outer Rim, Sidious stood in a blackened chamber, surrounded by robed cultists. Padme lay suspended in a containment field, unconscious but alive. He moved to her slowly, placing a hand near her stomach. "The child," he whispered, "a force anomaly, conceived through raw emotion. It will be perfect." Dooku appeared beside him. "Skywalker will come," he said. "I know. You still believe he will fall?" Sidious turned slowly. "I don't need him to fall. I just need him to break." The stolen Jedi. Cruiser sliced through hyperspace like a blade through silk. Anakin stood at the helm, arms crossed, face like stone. R2-D2 beeped nervously beside him, but Anakin didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the coordinates Dooku had once used. Old Sith territory. A dead moon with no name, no star system, and no reason to exist. Except it did, and Padme was there. He had seen her face in a transmission decoded from an ancient Sith relay point. She was alive, barely, but time was running out. The door behind him opened. Obi-Wan stepped in quietly. "You knew I would follow," he said. Anakin didn't turn. "Did they send you to stop me?" "No. I came to stand with you." That made Anakin pause. "I've made mistakes, Anakin. I see that now. We all have. But whatever's out there, you shouldn't face it alone." Anakin nodded once. "You won't like what I become." "I never did," Obi-Wan said with a small, bitter smile. "But I always believed in you." The cruiser dropped out of hyperspace. The moon loomed ahead, black and jagged, swirling with dark energy. Lightning curled across its atmosphere like veins. As they descended, the force grew heavier, thicker. Breathing felt like swallowing ash. They landed in silence. The temple rose before them like a scar in reality, twisted architecture that seemed to move when you weren't looking at it. Sith runes glowed faintly, pulsing with something alive, waiting. Inside, torches flickered with purple fire. Anakin walked ahead of Obi-Wan, his lightsaber already drawn. They didn't speak. They couldn't speak. The air was drenched with whispers, mocking, tempting, threatening. Every wall seemed to breathe. Then they saw her, Padme, floating in a stasis field, her eyes closed, skin pale. The containment was connected to a web of ancient Sith energy, feeding off her, feeding something beneath. Anakin rushed forward, and Dooku stepped from the shadows. "I warned you," he said calmly. "You could have had everything." Obi-Wan raised his saber. "Let her go." "I'm not holding her hostage," Dooku said. "She is the vessel. She carries more than just your child, Skywalker. She carries balance. Sidious will take that from her and bend it." Anakin's voice was low. "Then he'll die." A new voice slithered into the room. "You came after all." Sidious. He emerged from the blackness like a ghost, cloak rippling, eyes burning yellow. The Sith Lord smiled, like a man watching the final move in a game he rigged from the start. "You hesitated once. You won't again." Anakin stepped between. "Padme and Sidious, she goes free." "She is mine," Sidious said. "Everything you love is mine. The Order failed you, the Jedi feared you, and in their fear, you lost everything." "I lost nothing," Anakin growled, "because I'm still here and I remember everything." The room erupted. Dooku struck first, leaping at Obi-Wan, blades clashing with thunderous weight. Anakin lunged at Sidious, fury in every move. Blue and red sabers ignited the chamber in a storm of light. Padme remained suspended, unaware of the war being waged. Around her, Obi-Wan moved like wind, but Dooku was faster than ever. Fueled by hatred, by purpose. He knew this would be his last battle. He wanted it to count. But Obi-Wan had something he never had. Clarity. Their duel danced across the walls, sparks flying. Across the chamber, Sidious and Anakin fought like titans. Anakin was unhinged, aggressive, vicious, precise. Every blow was a scream, every block a howl of rage. "You're too late," Sidious hissed. "She's already fading." "I'll pull her back from death itself," Anakin roared. "I don't need your lies anymore." With a roar, he slammed Sidious with a force wave that shattered the wall behind him. The Sith Lord grunted, cloak smoking. Dooku faltered, just for a second, and Obi-Wan didn't hesitate. One clean strike. The Count collapsed. Sidious turned, wounded but smiling. "You've grown, but not enough." Anakin closed the distance, his saber burning. "You're right," he said, "but I didn't come to prove myself." Sidious raised his hand to summon lightning, and Obi-Wan threw his saber across the room. It stabbed straight through Sidious's chest. The Sith Lord gasped, once, then crumbled. The silence that followed wasn't peace, it was a warning. The energy around Padme began to spike. The temple began to shake. Anakin ran to her, slicing through the stasis field. She fell into his arms, weak but alive. Her eyes opened. "Annie, I've got you." But beneath the temple, something else was waking up, something Sidious had fed for decades, and it wasn't going to let go without a fight. The walls of the Sith temple began to split. Red lightning poured from the cracks in the stone. The floor trembled beneath Anakin's boots as ancient Sith glyphs burned themselves into the air like smoke. Something deep beneath them, something older than the Sith, older than the Jedi, had been awakened. Obi-Wan helped Anakin lift Padme as chunks of the ceiling collapsed. "She's breathing," Anakin said, gripping her tighter. "We have to get her out." But the air was growing heavier, as if gravity itself had thickened. The chamber dimmed, though the torches still burned. A rumble echoed from beneath, not mechanical, not natural, alive. Anakin turned. The center of the temple floor caved inward. A massive black pillar of energy shot upward, and from within it a shape began to rise. Not a man, not a beast. Something in between, clad in shifting armor made. From shadows, a form stepped forth, eyes burning with fire older than the galaxy. No mouth, just a voice that slithered through the Force. The blood of Skywalker was the key. Obi-Wan stepped forward, but the creature didn't even acknowledge him. "He fed me with war, with fear, with you," And now you will serve me, child of prophecy." Anakin stood protectively in front of Padme, saber ignited. "I'm done serving anyone." The thing laughed. A sound like bones cracking under pressure. "You killed Sidious, but I was always the source. He was merely a gatekeeper. Now the gate is open. You can't kill what has no beginning." Obi-Wan whispered to Anakin, "If we stay, we die." Anakin shook his head. "If this thing gets off this moon, everyone dies." The creature raised a hand. The temple began to collapse inward, folding itself like a dying star. The very force felt as if it were shattering in pieces, and Anakin made his choice. He handed Padme to Obi-Wan. "Get her to the ship. Now!" Obi-Wan hesitated, horror spreading across his face. "You're not coming, are you?" Anakin looked at him, calm, steady. "I wasn't supposed to survive this." "You don't have to die, Anakin." He gave the faintest smile. "No, but I do have to end it." Obi-Wan stared at him for one more second, then turned and ran, shielding Padme with the Force, racing for the hangar. The creature lunged forward, tendrils of pure energy stretching toward Anakin, and Anakin let go. All of it. The fear, the anger, the guilt. He stopped fighting the dark, and didn't embrace it either. Instead, he stood in the middle of it all, balanced, and for the first time truly became what the prophecy spoke of, not a Jedi, not a Sith, just the chosen one. He raised his hands, calling the Force to him, and the temple screamed, every stone, every wall, every curse etched in the bones of this dark place. He crushed them all in a brilliant white surge of power. The creature shrieked as its form unraveled, its energy drawn into the collapsing core of the temple. And at the last second, Anakin looked up toward the sky and whispered Padme's name. Then the entire moon imploded in a blinding flash of light. 3 days later, Obi-Wan stood beside Padme on a balcony in Naboo. She was still weak but alive. Her hand rested gently over her stomach. "He saved us," she whispered. Obi-Wan nodded. "He saved all of us." News spread across the galaxy. The Sith were gone. The Jedi began to rebuild, not as warriors, but as keepers of balance. A memorial was placed in the temple. No statues, no banners. Just one name carved in a single slab of stone. Anakin Skywalker. Not as a Jedi, not as a Sith, just a man who chose the light when it mattered most. And in the stars above, a new future was being written, one that belonged to their child. The legacy of Skywalker had only just begun.